this day, a day in which we have another opportunity to consider and act on issues facing this community. I thank you for everybody in the room this evening. I ask that as we look at tonight's agenda that you help us have humble hearts and sharp minds. In Christ's name I pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Let's remind you we have our new sound system has been installed. You'll all need to make sure your microphones are on. The light should be on with just a slight push of the button. And we will probably be adjusting sound. We're going to watch tonight. We may need to tweak some sound, so talk in your normal voice and we'll get it adjusted for future meetings. So, all right, let's start with the approval of the minutes from December 17th. Those are in board pack, and I would ask if there are any corrections or if there's a motion to approve those as presented.
Gosh, I can't believe we haven't met yet this year.
Yeah, I move to approve the minutes of the December 17, 18 meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. I'd like to welcome all the visitors tonight. At least, well, it's about 70 degrees warmer than it was last Wednesday and Thursday, so thank you for coming out tonight. With that, we'll move into reports, oral and written communications. I think the first thing I'd like to do, I've got a few thank yous from a few groups that I wanted to read to you all. These were directed, one was directed specifically to the council. This is just from the Animal Welfare League. It says, to the Warsaw City Council, on behalf of the staff and animals at the AWL, thank you so much for your generous support of both our daily operations and our new facility. Things we'll be able to accomplish in the new building will be outstanding. Kind regards, Kathy Zahner. So, and then I got a thank you from Miller's Mary Manor. They had some pipes break during the the cold weather last year. Pat Boyle just said, I want to thank you to all the emergency crews who were on the scene helping us when the sprinklers froze last Thursday in our assisted living building. Thought they did an outstanding job and really appreciated their quick response. They were great and definitely showed their dedication to our residents and employees. On behalf of all of us here at Miller's, thank you very much, Pat Boyle, President CEO. And then the third thing, I did mention it at Board of Works on Friday, but I want you all to, and I know you do, understand how very, very hard street, police, fire, parks, everybody worked last Wednesday and Thursday. They're just, the guys doing double trash routes on Wednesday, Friday, then having to plow on top of that on Friday at the street department. Police and fire had extra patrols trying to make sure that any citizen concerns were responded to quickly. Parks went above and beyond out at the warming center. So I just, again, publicly, and with certainly your consideration, thank the departments for as hard as they worked at a really odd type of emergency, quite frankly. So, and I think we came through pretty well. I think there was 6 folks that took advantage of the warming station, so I'm glad they were there. So, with that, anything in the fund report? Lynn?
Oh, no. Nothing that I really need to talk about or express a concern or interest in.
So the December fund report does give you kind of a snapshot of the year. You can see the balance. God bless you, Cindy. You can see the balance at the beginning of the year and then the balance as of December, the end of December. So it shows, I think, how our revenues have gone up. It just gives an idea by fund of the increases. And there will be a more detailed report. Lynn, you guys get that thing done sometime in the end of this month or
The
February?
annual report has to be filed by March 1st or February 20th.
And it'll be in similar form to this by department. It'll show the beginning and ending balance and give you a pretty good idea of how things have gone. So, but this one is, in particular, is a good one to kind of look through at those balances. Questions on that? All right, and then got an investment report here. Again, Lynn, any comments? Looks like we're getting up close to 3% on some of our newest investments.
Yeah, we are. Our investments are less than what they used to be for the simple reasons with the SRF loan. They're investing our debt service reserve fund money that's held there now and putting all that interest back into the fund so it can build up to what their requirements are to have as a reserve in that fund.
So those funds aren't reflected in these?
No, they're not. So
Okay.
the investments are about, well, it's $1.856 million less because that was what was in the debt service reserve fund that we had on in investments at the last.
Okay, so this doesn't even show a debt service reserve fund?
Nope.
Gotcha. All right, does that make sense? And those are SRF requirements?
Yes,
Okay,
new this year,
all right.
or new last year, excuse me.
Questions? Okay. And we've got a modest franchise fee from MediaCom. This is the fourth quarter of 18, a share of $348.95.
It's up a little bit from the previous quarter.
Okay. Questions on that? All right, so no unfinished business. We can move right into new business. Tonight, obviously, there's been a little delay from the two meetings that were canceled last month. So first item of new business will be to elect a council president. And I think this is pretty straightforward. I'll ask if there are any nominations for the office of council president.
I would like to nominate Diane.
Okay,
I think she's done a great job this year.
all right,
And I'd like to see her again.
all right.
I'll second that.
Okay, second by Cindy. So any further discussion or any other nominations, I should say?
I'd like to add my kudos to, I think you've done a really good job this year as president.
Thank you.
Any further nominations? Okay, is there a motion to close the nominations? Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right.
I'm sorry, who gave the first on that? To
Ron.
close? Okay. Mike, okay.
All in favor of closing the nominations, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, I suppose it's a formality, but all in favor of Diane as president, 2019 president of the Warsaw Common Council, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, congratulations.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that I'm thankful to all of you for the work that you put in last year to search out facts, to share ideas and solutions to city issues, and express yourself thoughtfully as we dealt with some pretty major issues last year. As your council president, I saw firsthand how much time and care you invested in the decisions you made, and I feel honored to represent you as your president and help facilitate our effective working together. We don't always agree with each other or agree with the mayor, but I think that's what makes for effective government whenever we approach these dichotomies with the attitude of finding the best solutions for all of our citizens and our businesses and our industries that call Warsaw home. I look forward to another productive year as we continue to work together, and I hope that we can continue to treat one another with respect and kindness as we move forward. I appreciate your honesty and all the work you do. People sitting out there have no idea how much work goes into things before it ever gets to the level where we're sitting in a meeting. And I appreciate that each of you do your homework and pay your due diligence and are willing to discuss things and propose solutions. So thank you for letting me be your council president again, and I'll continue to do my best to facilitate what goes on amongst us and to represent you when it's time to represent you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
All right, item number 2, this is a resolution from the, it's a planning resolution 2019-0201. This is essentially taking the funds that have been directed by a donor to the Rotary Park improvements, so actually it's K21, Jeremy?
Yeah, pretty similar to what we do with NDOT grants. The grant money comes in, we have to put that back in the fund that it came out of, so that's what this resolution is doing, is taking the grant money that has come in, that we were given for the project, and putting it back into the fund that the money came out of.
Questions?
I'll make a motion, we approve 2019-0201.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Pretty straightforward.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. Jeremy, designation of 2427 Boeing as a ERA?
Yeah, so it's been a while since we've actually done economic revitalization area. This is what enables us to issue as a city and as a council, you guys to approve a tax abatement for someone requesting, whether it be personal or real property. So the first step is that designating resolution. The second step would be the confirming resolution, and then you would be able to approve an SB1, which is a statement of benefit application, which would grant the tax abatement that they're requesting. So what you have before you tonight is Lake City Heat Treating Corp. is taking that first step and creating that ERA, which is the designating resolution. And then there will be a public hearing on the confirming resolution that will be advertised. So the first step tonight is designating it in ERA, and then you'll have an advertised public hearing at the next council meeting to confirm that resolution, at which point they will present an SB1, which is the tax abatement application. You have the application with you attached tonight, so you can see what they're requesting, but they are requesting a 10-year tax abatement for personal property. They are looking at spending roughly $4.8 million on new manufacturing equipment at their facility, and that's what they'd be requesting that 10-year tax abatement for. Our guidelines suggest that it's based, for personal property, is purely based on the dollar amount spent. So as a council, the guidelines state that anything over $1 million in personal property would be applicable for a 10-year tax abatement. Personal property does not have jobs attached to them like real property does. So what you'd purely be looking at is the dollar amount that they're planning on spending for personal property. I believe the applicant does have a representative here if you have any questions concerning the project itself.
Jeremy, would you just talk a little bit about the map? If you guys go to the last page on your handout here, it shows the area that you're considering for this economic revitalization area. Talk just a little bit how that may impact the entire annexed area at some point.
Yeah, so we eventually, unfortunately, they were already in the process with the county of getting an ERA when the annexation took effect, which now puts them in our jurisdiction. So what we will eventually do is much like what we had done with the technology park. We will create an ERA for the industrial park itself, which will allow any property within that industrial park to come before you for an SB1, and takes out the two steps that they're about to go through. It saves a little bit of time for any economic development projects that we may have in that industrial park. Obviously, our intent with the project, with the annexation, with the sanitary sewer, is to create new development opportunities. And part of those development opportunities are creating economic and development incentives, which one of those incentives being tax abatement. So in the near future, I will put together an actual ERA that will take in the, create an economic revitalization area for the entire airport industrial park, so it won't just be one parcel. In the meantime, because they're on a time frame that they've got personal property that they're looking to purchase, this will take effect specifically for this property that will be enveloped into the entire industrial park once we do the overarching ERA in the future.
So tonight, we're just looking at the ERA and not the specific SB1, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, but the SB1 gives the information as to what will then follow.
And you're technically only, at this point, all you're doing is designating the ERA. You won't actually approve the ERA until you do the confirming resolution at the next meeting.
So it's kind of a first hearing.
It's the first hearing. Yeah.
Gotcha. Questions? I know it's a little confusing maybe, but ask away.
So that whole area is designated as a TIF,
That's correct.
and we're establishing an ERA within the TIF.
We will. This one is specific to this property because I haven't been
Right.
able to put the whole resolution together. I have the legal description. Like I said, they came in and needed the tax abatement now. So rather than slow them down, wait till I catch up, we're going to go ahead and do this one since they already have the legal description for their property. I have to put together the legal description for the ERA we're going to create for the overall industrial park, and then do a similar resolution, and then confirming resolution, and then anybody within that industrial park afterwards would only have to come before you and present the SB1. They wouldn't have to present an ERA every time that someone wanted a tax abatement.
Yeah.
So I would ask their representative, if there aren't any more questions of Jeremy, have their representative come up and present his case, and then we certainly open it up.
Jeremy, does any action need to be taken on this resolution then tonight, or will it be the action next time?
Yeah, so they do need to approve the designation, and
Okay.
the next meeting they'll
Be
approve
the
the
confirming, okay,
confirming.
all right.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? My name is Michael White, and I appreciate all the help Jeremy is. You may have seen me, recognized me from before. I work with Wildman Business Group on their tax abatement, and I'm working with Lake City Heat Treating for this particular one. So, did you just want me to kind of describe in general what, I
Maybe
can try to be
discussion of
as
the
close-
investment that
Sure,
potentially
okay.
is coming?
Yep, there you go. So there's two pieces of equipment that basically is involved in this. The majority of the investments, about $4.7 million equipment, is a big hip press. It's if you like, I can send this around, you can kind of visualize what we're talking about. It's a pretty large press. Basically, and this is pretty good stuff. It's the only one of its kind in North America, we're told. And what it's going to do is allow us, it does the work that two presses can do. So it's going to do a lot more volume and basically cut our lead time down from weeks to days. So it's a pretty intense piece of equipment. That's about $4.7 million. There are tanks that go along with that, which is about $162,000 for the tank. So altogether, about $4.9 million that is being invested. Basically, it's we work with turbines for engines in the aerospace, and also with the medical products as well. And I would like to point out too, Lake City Heat Treating is a very local company. 46% of our revenues come directly from Warsaw, and 62% of the revenues within driving distance of Warsaw. So if you're not familiar with Lake City Heat Treating, it's...
Do you know how long the facility's been out in the Airport Industrial Park?
Lake City Heat Treating's been there since, I believe, like 1983.
Okay.
So they've been there quite some time.
One question I had was, are you building a new building to house this press?
There
or-
was a new building
Okay.
that was put up there. We're not seeking tax abatement on the real property, only on the equipment itself. But
Okay, so
there
only
was-
on the equipment itself.
yeah,
That was
but-
one, because
but
I
there
knew
was a
there was a
demo.
building there that had been put up, and then I
Right.
wasn't sure. Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Any other questions, Mr. White? All right, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. And I'm sure at the next meeting, if it goes to that far, somebody from the company will be here to maybe answer more specific questions about that. I think you can see on there too, I know Jeremy mentioned not, employees doesn't really matter, but there will be about 3 additional employees, about $30,000 salary apiece for that, so. And regarding that real quick, the employees, it's kind of a lot of the same employees, just going to manage around the same, just kind of move around a little bit, so. But anyway, I appreciate your time very much.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. So again, we're just being asked to, kind of on first reading, approve the designation of that specific area as an ERA, Economic Revitalization Area. Any other questions of Jeremy or the petitioner?
I have a question, point of order here. The resolution, there's no number on it. And if you need first reading action, do you need a number on that, or?
It does have a number.
It does?
No, it wasn't put on.
No.
The one that was scanned in.
I just
but,
wanted to make sure that,
It should be on the agenda.
2019-0202 is the resolution number.
Yeah, I don't believe it's on your
I
agenda.
move to pass on first reading. Is that the motion you need?
Just move to pass the designating. You'll have, it's similar to 2 readings, but they're called designating, confirming. So you're approving the designating, and you'll approve the confirming, which actually creates the district. The designating, you could, and the reason I say that is, you could approve the designating and then come back next week and or the next council meeting and decide that you're not going to approve the confirming. So the designating acts like a first reading, but you are approving the designating, and then you'll approve the confirming resolution.
I'll second it.
All right, so that'd be 2019-0202, is that correct, Lynn?
Correct.
All right, any further questions or comments? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thank you. All right, item number 4, also coming from the building and plan, this would be a tax abatement application for the new Shell building out in the Tech Park. Jeremy?
Yeah, so you have before you, West Hill Investment Group is requesting a tax abatement, and this one is on real property for a second Shell building to be built at the Warsaw Technology Park. Roughly estimated cost for the Shell is $3.7 million. And as it's typical, we had done with the first Shell building, and with real property, you have a tax abatement schedule. And that schedule is based on what you approve, the percentages of the tax abatement over a 10-year period. On the first Shell building, to incentivize the construction of the Shell building, we had amended or changed the abatement schedule to include the first 3 years at 100%, and then it tapers down from there based on the original schedule. And the reason for that is because it is a spec building, there won't be any tenant, so we're giving them basically roughly 3 years worth of tax abatement to entice a tenant to move in and relocate or a new tenant into that new facility. So that 3-year, 100% tax abatement, then it stair steps down from there based on a normal 10-year tax abatement. That was what we had approved with the original Shell building, and that's what we are requesting to approve with the second Shell building. To give you an idea of the overall impact the Shell building had, we initially started with the first Shell building. We showed that building to 3 different people, one being Banner Medical, which built just adjacent to the Shell building, and then eventually Patrick Industry, which now occupies and has expanded, doubled the size of the original Shell building. So the impact that Shell building has generated really gets people to come to your community, and even though they may not build or not occupy that, they may build next, or they may not come, but really it gets their foot in the door, and the impact of having a Shell building, having something to offer is huge, especially when you look at what's being brought into the community and what's being brought into the state. Almost always the first impulse of any company is to look for existing facilities. So not having an existing facility really puts you behind the 8 ball if you don't have something to show. The second important impact is the job creation and the jobs impacts from those, what you ultimately get when a new development occurs. Even though we're giving a tax abatement for real and personal property, the impact of that company locating here is far greater than the taxes we would receive just off of real property and personal property. Especially when you're looking at income taxes, the potential for generating new homes, and plus also for the potential commercial development that comes from growth, the community's growth. I mean, we've seen a lot of commercial development over the last 2 or 3 years, and a lot of that stems from the activities and the growth of the corporations themselves as jobs are created, as new people come into the community. And obviously from the housing issues that we have and trying to create new housing opportunities, those also play in. So the impact is far greater than what you see on a piece of paper from an industry who may come in and have some personal property expenditures as well as some real property. The impact to the community is far greater than just those numbers alone. So having these types of developments with the technology park and creating the opportunities that we have with Shell buildings has a huge impact as we move forward as a community on our growth, not only commercially but residentially, and then creating those jobs.
Jeremy, we don't have a map on here. Is this in phase 1 of the tech park or the new phase 2, or where is this going to be located?
It is in phase 1 of the initial tech park. So it'd be right on the corner, so it's just across from Banner Medical.
Okay.
Northeast corner.
Yeah,
Northeast
so it'll
corner.
be on the east
So
side.
is Crossing and Polk Drive.
Right
Okay.
across from Madison School.
Okay.
It'll be a little bit smaller than the original Shell building, but the shape will be a little bit different, trying to figure out what people want. We built the first Shell building and no one wanted a square, they wanted a rectangle. So this building's gonna be a rectangle, and then everybody will want a square, not a rectangle. But But the nice thing about what we're doing and what the partners West Hill's doing with the second phase, or the second shell building, is creating an opportunity where it could be broken up into smaller sizes. So you could have potentially 2 tenants instead of 1, or you could have 1, or you could have 3 tenants. So it'll be, they'll be able to maybe split this building up into multiple tenant spaces to make it a little bit more flexible, rather than just trying to find someone who wants 50,000 square feet. You might find someone who wants 30 and someone who wants 10, and another person that wants 10, or one that wants 30 and one wants 20. So it'll be a little bit more flexible than the original shell building was.
So is this the one that was previewed out at Ivy Tech?
Yes,
when we
that's correct,
attended the
yep.
meeting there? Okay, now I know.
We've had extensive discussion with the developers. I mean, they're the ones that are sticking their necks out. Again, it's, I think when people come, they know exactly what they want, and they don't want to vary too much. So we had a very good discussion with the developers on creating that flexibility, so that if someone didn't want the full 57,000 square feet. And we've had a fair amount of requests for smaller buildings, and this could potentially house, as Jeremy said, maybe 3 startups, maybe 2, or maybe just one pretty decent-sized company. I don't believe this building is expandable. I think the footprint that it's on, it's the 57,000 square feet is the size of this building.
Mm-hmm.
But the flexibility is kind of going the other way. It's being able to provide smaller units, which hopefully will allow it to be occupied quicker.
Well, I appreciate the fact that West Hill is willing to do another shell building. And with that in mind, I would move to approve the tax abatement application.
I'll second that.
All right. Further discussion or questions for Jeremy? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Thank you, Jeremy, for all your work on that. I know that's, it's exciting. It's very exciting. All right, Scott, you've got a transfer request.
Can you even remember what this one's about?
It's been a month and a wait.
Yeah, it's been a long wait.
So the police department is just simply requesting to transfer $17,700 from personal services to communication transportation. This was in the 2019 budget under personal services for cell phones. The purpose of this would be to no longer pay allowance or stipends for personal phones, but to actually provide a work mobile device for each officer and our employees. So the phone has changed, and I almost hate to refer to it as a phone. It's a mobile device. It's a computer. It can provide us with a number of opportunities, but it needs to be police property, the city of Warsaw property, for us to do that. As you can imagine, with the information that we have. And right now, we're unable to use phones for that purpose, so it really restricts us. So I would just ask that you allow us to transfer that money, and we'll schedule a time with cell providers, and you try to figure out what's going to be the best product for us. But I will say that in talking with the mayor, the $17,700 is the maximum, so that's, we're not going to go over that amount. I assured the mayor that, so we'll find a package that allows us to do that.
So stepping back a little bit, that $17,700 was what we were allowing as cell phone allowance. And I told Scott if they want to go back to department-issued phones, that's fine, but we're going to save money. We're not going to go above what we originally were allowing as a cell phone allowance. So whatever they purchase, they'll have to be able to purchase with what we were allowing as a cell phone allowance. So there's no real net gain or loss here. It probably will be cheaper from what we've been told. And without getting into the details, if I remember correctly, the company will buy back the phones, which will give us credit when we go to buy more phones in the future.
Yeah, that's correct. That's what was offered to us at the end of last year. Obviously, that could have changed, so we haven't committed to anybody. I wanted to make sure we had approval from council before we pursued an actual, but it's going to be government pricing, government contract. The things with obviously with these phones, several years ago, we went to the stipend because it was going to save the city money, and we only had to carry one phone. But like I said, we're past the point of it being a phone. These devices will be used at work only, and they'll probably be shut off after work. And if we need to contact them, we'll contact their personal phone. But it is like I said, it's something that's it's kind of been, we've been wanting to work towards since around budget season last year, we just didn't have the opportunity to make that change, so that's why it wasn't reflected in the budget.
And you told me that that includes the first year's fees for the use of the phone?
Well, I didn't hit on Mayor's, the first year's fee.
Well, I pay a fee on my cell phone every month,
Right.
so,
We'll have a monthly bill. There are monthly fees assigned to that. The current program that the mayor is referring to, the cellular provider will actually provide us with a phone. I believe the one they offered was an iPhone 7, and that at no cost, in fact. And then with that program, after just under a year, you can actually trade those phones back in and upgrade at no cost. But, we haven't committed to anything yet, and I don't know if that program's still available. But there is a monthly fee. This is what this is. This $17,700 is going to cover that monthly fee.
okay.
So it's basically, that 17,000 is basically the monthly fee. If, depending on whatever they end up with, the idea is to get the phones at no charge or at a very minimal cost, and then this would be. There were some other very interesting advantages to doing it this way through the government contract, and it spoke to having communication. When communication is down, maybe from a natural disaster, they will, and I don't know technically how they do it, but they will push us up to where we will still be able to communicate. They'll give us towers that our emergency personnel can use with those phones that if they were just carrying their personal device, it wouldn't be able to do. So there's a real advantage, and Scott, you might speak to that a little bit more. I just remember that one point.
Correct. It is something that they offer, but again, it has to be a government phone. In order for that, they can actually assign it with, I forget the terminology, but that phone, it would be recognized as an emergency personnel phone, and will get have access in a time to be placed in order in front of everybody else trying to use their cellular phone in an emergency situation, which, there's only so much that these cellular towers can hold. We've never obviously been in a situation where we've, kind of tested, exactly how many hours we'll hold, but that is something that they could not do if it was our personal phone. So.
Questions?
I think it's a very good move, Scott.
Thank you.
I really do. I'd like to make the motion we approve 0101.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion?
Will the officers still be able to carry a personal phone if they want to?
I'm sure they'll have their personal phone with them. I would expect they wouldn't be carrying it on their person, but, that's not something that we've really addressed yet. But this phone, obviously, while they're working, can be used for limited personal use if they need to talk to family and whatnot. But the basis of it would be to just be for work purposes. But we really haven't addressed that issue yet. So
Will they take these new phones home with them? Or will they stay in their car?
Yes, it'd be the same. It could stay in a car on their person, but it's in their possession. It'd be no different than in-car computer. Really will offer the same tools that the in-car computer offers. But as far as the second phone, I highly doubt that they'll have both on them while they're working, just for, they have enough tools to carry as it is.
Yeah.
When we went to the personal phone with the stipend, we debated these things of having two phones. The idea was to, not have to carry two phones, only carry one. Try and save money with a stipend instead of going out and buying phones and having all that. I think this government contract has really pared down the cost for us to own a government phone. That's been the big thing. Carrying two phones is just the disadvantage of going back to that. Mm-hmm. But I think with the cost savings that we will have, this makes perfect sense, and again, with the added advantages of a higher protocol communication when there's disaster, that sold me right away. That to me is a big selling point. So
You can imagine software applications that are made available, obviously, for cellular phones, for iPads, that type of thing, but these are coming available for us. We currently have an app called the Freedom app that actually ties in with our current MCT systems, which is countywide. The county has several of these as well. And these can be used by school resource officers, canine officers, drug detectives, and they can flick that on, and we can see, the dispatch can see exactly where they're at on the map. And that's a tool that we can't put on a personal phone, but we certainly can on a work phone.
So again, I know it's been motioned and seconded. This is essentially a transfer from personal services where those stipends were into 320, which is communication and transportation, so that he can purchase these government-issued phones. So any further questions or concerns? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Do you want it to come back for another reading?
Let's see.
He's already waited a month.
I'll leave that to the council.
Council's nodding their head, so yes, second reading, 2 weeks.
So is there a motion to suspend the rules and approve on second reading, or you want it to come back? Okay, fair enough. We'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you. All right. Item number 6 is just an encumbrance report. There's really no action that needs to be taken. This just is a public acknowledgement of purchase orders that have been carried over from 2018 to 2019. There's 44 pages. And essentially, this is just housekeeping that is required by Lynn when we carry those appropriations over into the following year. So they are summarized here in this 2018 encumbrance report by fund. Questions?
So these are things that we still expect to pay, correct?
Or some could have already been paid. So in June, July, I'll bring back another report showing you what's been liquidated.
Okay.
So a lot of these could be on contracts or just work that didn't get finished in 18 that we thought was going to. I think there's a lot of stuff on there on the new city server as well.
Yeah.
So,
And so this last year, I really tried to cut back on the POs because I thought we were carrying too much money over each year, and we did drop the carryover from last year to this year by $1.1 million. So hopefully that's what caused that less amount being carried over.
okay. All right, item number 7 is ordinance 2019-0201. This is again a transfer ordinance for the street department. It's $4,000 from $390 to $449, so from other services and charges to capital outlays. Jeff?
Exactly as Joe said, transfer to an account, the 400 account, $4,000, and that is the account that Lynn wanted to pay. We're getting a new Microsoft SQL server, 2017. This is a relational database management system with primary function of storing and retrieving data requested by other software applications locally or in a network including the internet. We currently have version 2008 R2 on the wastewater plant. It is unknown when or who installed it initially, and the installation disk and licensing are no longer supported by Microsoft. To reinstall it on the new server would not be possible without reverting to an express version, which would create a large loss of functionality as well as limit the number of users who could access the database. Microsoft SQL 2008 also currently drives the Entero software system for the wastewater management plant. We plan to phase out the Entero management system with the new Element software, which are a new asset management system that the city as a whole is getting. So now let me put it in my language, because that was the stuff I don't understand. There's a big database that's old and we can't use it anymore. As we're moving to our new management system, it has to live in a new house. So this is the new home for it to live in. The software that we currently used to have will no longer be able to live in that environment. So the new software will have to live in this environment. My part is $4,000 of the total $15,000 investment. Wastewater is paying for. I believe planning is paying for as well. The other amounts is being split up amongst all the other departments. As I mentioned, we've been talking for almost a year now of us building and implementing our asset management database system, which will encumber everything in the entire city. The street department, wastewater, and planning are going to be the first initial users into this database system, and then it'll spread out to the other departments within the city. And so essentially, we need to buy this program to be able to help house that system that we did not know would not be able to be moved.
And it's all part of the new server upgrade that we're finishing up downstairs. I know I talked to Mary at GIS today, and she was ecstatic about this piece of equipment because this is going to allow transfer of those large GIS files. And instead of the spinning ball going forever and ever, this is going to really facilitate sharing those files between building and plan, street department, and especially the wastewater. So this is a huge impact to data file and sharing that we've been looking forward to since we got fiber and since we've now been working to finish up the installation of the new city server. So thank you for giving us the technical information and the toned down version. Are there questions?
Yeah, last year when we were getting the budget ready, and I came in, we talked about some software, about keeping track of things like, how much asphalt you use in potholes and things like that. Is this gonna be part of that?
This is the background to that.
The
program.
background to that, yeah, okay.
And say exactly how all that part works, I'm not techie enough to know, other than that they said we have to have it.
That's okay, we're just users, right?
And the fact that we found out that the old software wasn't going to work with the new server was kind of a last minute concern, and that's why Jeff had to move some money, why he has to transfer money. The other departments that are sharing in the cost of this have that in their budgets, on their capital budgets. So,
In the right category.
right.
And Jeff didn't have it in the right category, so.
Well, with that, I would move to approve ordinance 2019-0201.
And I would second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I assume, unless I hear different, that you'll want that to come back to the next meeting for a second reading. All right, so that's what we'll do.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Are there any other matters to come before the council tonight?
Just maybe remind everybody that the next meeting will be on a Tuesday
I was just
because it
gonna
would
say.
fall on President's Day,
The 19th.
the 19th, so.
It was a President's Day. All right,
One other thing, I do want to thank the board and the community for their support with the deer reduction last month. Private and public properties came to a close. I'll have information. I want to thank all the stakeholders. The chief is here, but I'll have more information for you in the upcoming months as far as the amount of hits and exactly how it all worked. But thanks again to this board and the community for your support.
all right.
Thank you, Jeff.
Any other items coming forward? Any visitors, questions, or comments?
I do have one.
Yeah.
Dan's gonna be mad at me. Some of you may already know, but Dan is doing ink free news. So moving forward, I will not be covering council. Dan will be covering council on my behalf, on our behalf. I can still be reached, but thank you.
All right, thank you, Maggie. Appreciate it.
We'll miss you, Maggie.
Yes.
I'll still be here.
Okay.
So she'll have a hand in what you write. All right. Well, thank you for the good job you've done, Maggie. We appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll do fine.
And thank you for the new sound system, I appreciate it.
Is it helping?
Is it working?
Does it?
Yeah, how is it working?
This sound a
Wonderful.
lot better.
Good.
All right.
Okay.
Step at a time.
I can
I
hear
think that's it for our upgrades down here in the council chambers, and it certainly does help with the live streaming, so,
Continuous improvement, Joe.
Yep.
Continuous improvement.
yep.
It's not done.
It's your call, baby. All right. Mike, you're a little late, buddy. That's all right. Thanks for coming. We'll let you sign in, then we'll motion to adjourn, all right? All right, is there a motion to adjourn? So moved. All right, thank you.
Lynn, do we have some things to sign?
Yes. Thanks. I
Turn your
yelled
microphones
into my
off.
back. I yelled.
So you're gonna send that fancy camera with him?